So I guess I'm being told I'm supposed to somehow respond to what just happened in East Lansing. You look at my mentions, I have multiple requests to chime in, multiple invitations to weigh in. And, I think I probably have the second or third most positive account regarding this regime. I mean, no one's going to touch Odell Bredham. Uh, I mean, I, what is there to say? I think if you're wiping out the consequential losses, the the losses that like really meant something in terms of higher stakes, that's arguably the worst loss ever. You're going to obviously have the Wisconsin, Michigan State failed Rose Bowl bid in Indy game like above what just happened. You're gonna have uh, the '04 Michigan game ahead of what just happened, just given the stakes and a rivalry game and whatnot. But in terms of like wiping out the Michigan series, wiping out bowl games or prospective Big Ten championship games, that's probably the worst. I'm trying to not be a prisoner of the moment on this, but like, what's worse than that? You had a 17-point lead and the ball at home against a team with a 7-game losing streak who's basically bad on both sides of the ball. The amount of things that had to go wrong to even see overtime is just astounding. I mean, it just you have to be so bad in the second half for that to even happen, for it to even be in doubt. I mean, I'm starting to laugh. I don't know how many. Maybe I'm just hexed. But like you get that win probability chart that the ESPN box score has. The amount of times that like a team I'm rooting for or bet on has like a 98% win probability and loses. I mean, I'm starting to doubt the math on that because it happens a lot more than 2 to 5% of the time. But I mean, you're looking at a 97, 98% win probability according to that metric. And you're sitting there praying to maybe score at the end to maybe get a chance for a 2-point conversion. I just it's something you have to look back on some of these late game situations that have been mismanaged in the last year. And end of half we saw last year, I think it was the Rutgers game. The end of half was mismanaged, and you have narrowly escaped consequences for this mismanagement repeatedly. Several times, like 4 or 5 escapes. Notably, perhaps most notably, the Wisconsin game this year. But I mean, there have been others. Others this year. Illinois. I mean, there's been weird stuff multiple times, and Michigan State ends up okay. Finally, gotcha. And I just for whatever mismanagement there was, and there was, 22-yard field goal. None of this is really a big deal in the end, and we're all happy with a salvage season if a 22-yard field goal goes through. I've said for like 15 years now that the most underrated position for a college team is like having a good kicker and just special teams in general, like for that unit in particular. But like having a good kicker, just look at Michigan today. Like Moody's automatic. Like if they don't have a good kicker, I mean, it was a 38 yarder, but if they don't have like a reliable kicker, I mean, if that was Michigan State in that situation with their kicking game, but the rest of the team was really good and a college football playoff contender, like if they don't have a good kicker, they're out of the playoff hunt today. Like their season's over. So it's so important. And I don't understand it because I watch a lot of football. I mean, you see like Coastal Carolina's, these random schools, Tulane versus Coastal. And it's like these guys are, I mean, they're not Mike Vanderjagt in his prime, but they're hitting like 44-yard field goals, like splitting the uprights. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get how like a school like Michigan State doesn't have. I'm not saying you have to have a great kicker. I always thought, Matt Coughlin was a guy that was considered sort of a product of uh, meme culture. He was sort of beloved because he had silly hair and he was a redhead. If you look at the numbers, anything beyond 38, 39 yards, it was like it's pretty bad. Pretty shaky. Never missed an extra point, but pretty shaky. He was good on short kicks. A coin flip if you went above 40. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but the numbers were not pretty beyond 39, 38, 39 yards. And like what I would give that Matt Coughlin back now, it's like at least these short kicks were automatic. I just to go down like that. No, it wasn't a bowl game. No, it wasn't a championship game, but it was a game to get to a bowl. It's an extra month of practice. And the one, if you want to look at a silver lining from I guess almost Schadenfreude aspect is maybe this group didn't deserve to get rewarded with a bowl. I mean, is that crazy to say? Maybe they didn't deserve it. Maybe this team is kind of getting what they deserve. And I have guys that I like on this team a lot as players and as guys, and have had guys on this team on my show. And um, it's fun. I mean, the guys I've had on my show, I don't really include in the major list of problems. But I think the program. I don't have any animosity towards individual players really, but the program probably needed the dodge of the false fool's gold here, because I think if Michigan State, this is rationalization 101. I would have rather Michigan State won the football game today, but you could make an argument that it's just smearing lipstick all over this pig right at the finish line isn't really helping anybody. I think this program needed and needs a little bit of a rude awakening, and we felt like we were getting it. But then if you rip off, yeah, I mean, God forbid you win next week, you rip off what was 4 or 5 wins, or 4 wins to finish a year. Suddenly you're starting to lack a little introspection. I think they probably needed this wake up call, and this is going to be a big off season. But to miss out on a bowl game. Potentially, you still have a chance to make good, but I just to miss out on a bowl game because of that. You have a 17-point lead in the ball at home against a team on a 7-game losing streak. Finish the game. Finish the game. Yeah, I see. Jesus Christmas, how do we lose that game? Yeah, I don't know. That's a very good question. I didn't really even want to talk. I had a habit of not even a habit, it's like a rule of not jumping in and saying something if I don't have anything to say. I really don't have much to say, but I had a lot of people telling me that I got to hop on or I have some kind of response to this, and I wish I had something better. I think I feel a lot of what you guys feel. That was a disgraceful second half. That was a perfect storm of not everything going wrong, everything just being wrong, being executed poorly. I was saying in real time, I don't want to hear anything about hashes, maybe what a kicker's preference is. Like, enough. Anyone just watching the game as they're lining up for that field goal, even if you had like a pretty good kicker, the optic of like being way off to the left hash on that short kick where you got to drill and hook it. It's actually like harder than some 35-yard field goals. Now it still should be, you got to make that. I don't care what hash you're on. It's a 22-yard field goal. But like, why put yourself in that position? And a couple of people where I didn't see the replay. I was too horrified to watch it if they played it. But a couple of people were saying, "Oh, it was actually drawn up to go to the right," and Elijah Collins, cut it left. Even if I grant that, like, you don't put, it's the same thing with like the putting Peyton Thorne in that 4th and 1. Oh, he had a read and it was up to him against Michigan. I mean, it was a read. He could have thrown it. He could have kept it. He could have handed it off, and it's this read option or whatever. And he had the choice and he made the wrong choice. It's like, fuck that. Don't put it in the player's hands. There's no chance that I'm letting my running back in that spot, like, even try to make a play. We've been the worst short yardage team in the conference like all year long, including today. I mean, how many third and fours, fourth and twos that were not converted. I just don't put them in that spot. I don't like let my running back make a cut there. It's you either hand it off, hard dive right, or you do the quarterback, hike, and then Thorne does his little turkey trot a couple steps to the right and goes down, and you almost help your kicker not only by centering it but by giving them a little bit more space to work with if there is an angle there. If it's center, you want to be as close as possible. But I just that was such an obvious, and I said it in real time. It's not like that's hindsight. I think most people understand that. Like who knows? I fully believe Michigan State wins if the ball is centered. I mean, that's just that you're putting a shaky kicker in that spot where he's trying to drill it on this funky angle. We've seen like Blair Walsh miss that kick when he was the best or second best kicker in the NFL that year. And for a few year period there for the Vikings. I mean, we've seen that happen from much better kickers. You don't put, especially in the snow, and it's a game ending field goal, and you don't put them hooked way to the left like that. And that was such an obvious, like, if he misses it, he misses it. Don't make it 1% harder. And I did see someone say, and I don't even disagree with it, but I saw somebody say, oh, it's still a 22-yard field goal, you have to make it. I agree, but from a coaching perspective, what is your job? To make it as easy on your players as possible. Put your players in the best position to succeed. That didn't happen. So you can say 22-yard field goal should make it anyway. No problem. What you can't say is that a kick way to the left is equally as easy and equally as likely to be a successful attempt as a kick dead on center in that spot, that close. When you're that close, the whole prefers to be on the left hash shit doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you're that close. I get it. If this is even like a 33-yard field goal, 34-yard field goal, the angle does matter more. It doesn't matter. Like, stop talking about the hash on a 22-yard field goal attempt. There's no hook. You just want to drill that thing. There's no kicker preference here on the 22-yard field goal. There's not. And if your kicker thinks he's better that way, it's like Ahmed and the Bad News Bears who thinks he should switch hit and he can't make contact with his primary hand. It's like, veto your kicker in that case. I mean, why are we deferring to Ben Patton anyway? This is how I prefer to kick. Oh, I don't know. What evidence do we have of that working out? I don't get the decision. Your job as the coaching staff is to put him in the best possible position to succeed. And if you do that and he misses it, we can be pissed off, but at least we went down putting the guys in the best position to succeed. And you will never convince me. I've missed the post-game press conferences. I don't have the heart to watch them. It's possible that someone went on the record saying, yeah, he likes the ball way to the left. I doubt it. I've watched a lot of ball in my life. What's the easier kick on a short kick like that? When is it ever easier on a 22-yarder, a glorified extra point, to be off to the left? It's not. And we all knew it when they were lining up. To me, I thought that was a 50-50 proposition, which is insane. It's objectively in the Division I level a 95+% if you look across, especially Power 5. And to me, it was like coin flip. I was not ready to celebrate. And that's what happened. I would have been at about a 95%, even with that kicker and that snow and everything, if it had been lined up. But you see him way to the left. He's got to hit it. It's just mentally, it fucks with you. It's still, as kicks go, an easy kick, but it's harder. And the bottom line is, as the coaching staff, you have that situation entirely in your control. Unless you think Peyton Thorne is going to fumble the snap when he's just jogging to the right for a kneel down, you have complete control of what that kick looks like. There's no risk. There's no, pros and cons. There's no weighing this versus that. You have complete control. And the right play was the kick, even with a shitty kicker. Like, you plunge into the end zone. I believe me, I would take it. I wouldn't have been mad. But mathematically, the play is to kick. I mean, we saw that Arizona State against Michigan State years ago in the desert. It's like they didn't want to score. If you can get a 22-yard, 23-yard field goal to win versus 40 seconds left on the clock or 38 seconds left, you kick that all day. You play for that kick. It's just a much higher probability, and there's no fumble risk. We see guys fumble at the goal line all the time. Weird shit happens. You have just as much of a chance as, fumbling while you're in the scrum as you do botching a 22-yard field goal. Like, mathematically, you take the field goal. They played that properly until they went to the left hash. I don't even give it to the running back. What I would do the Peyton Thorne, hike, step, kneel down, make the kick 2 yards farther. Who cares? And just drill it. And if you miss that, so be it. I will say that you get the and I did think Michigan State was going to win until the touchdown and 2-point conversion for Indiana in overtime. That was when I was having serious doubt. But you get that huge field goal block right after you botched your second short kick in a row. And the first play is a 23-yard pass from a team that can't pass. You couldn't enjoy the euphoria of that answered blocked field goal for like 5 seconds. I mean, they had the timeout and whatever, but like it didn't last one play. Because once it got to 1st and goal from the 2, it's like, okay. I don't know about you guys. To me, it was more about just, hey, are they going to get a 2-point conversion here or not? I don't know how you don't center that. I don't know how you don't center that ball for Ben Patton. I don't know. I mean, I see you, Carson. One of the worst losses I've ever seen. Yeah, shocked that they did not center the kick for Ben Patton. Yeah, it's on my Twitter feed. I said it before the play. It's like, just don't get cute. And it's such an agonizing loss on a number of levels too, because you had before in the overtime, before the second missed chip shot of the day, you had Trey Mosley open. Now that is a tough throw for Peyton Thorne. So I'm not going to kill him for missing him. You're going across your body, the exact type of throw you're honestly not supposed to make, but in that spot, that was the right call to try. But if Mosley is one step quicker, or if Thorne puts that ball 2 inches closer, maybe even an inch and a half, you have a touchdown. Your defense is playing for the win. That was a combination of not finding the inches, a combination of bad coaching, poor execution. That's how you lose a 17-point lead in the second half with the ball at home to a team on a 7-game losing streak who's probably going to fire everybody in a couple days. It's funny. I mean, if you're doing the little brother routine, the hating your rival routine, kind of a double whammy that Michigan came back on Illinois. Although that game was, I had obviously the Michigan State game on the big screen, and I had my laptop like off to the right, and so I can't give you like a real analysis of what happened in the Illinois game, because I was like every fourth play kind of looking over. I cared more about preserving bowl status, but it was kind of shitty and funny at the same time to have Illinois. I think they had the ball like in Michigan territory with a 4-point lead and like 5 minutes left or something. Like they were a pretty good bet to win, decent bet to win. And then, Michigan State looks like they're in command, even if after all that happened and it slips away, it's a chip shot field goal to win. And it's like your hated rival kind of stole the victory away from the jaws of defeat while you collapse at the same time. Michigan State got what they deserved. And, I feel in a certain sense gutted, but I feel worse if I feel like Michigan State got screwed somehow, or like I would have been happy eking out that win for a number of reasons. But uh, at some point, these late game shenanigans had to cost us. We've gotten away with it like 5 or 6 times, and chickens finally came home to roost. I mean, what were we like 5-0, 6-0 the last couple of years in games that we were doing weird shit at the end, and whether it was the half or the end of the game, and we dodged a lot of bullets. Finally took one, and it was right into an internal organ. That one sucked. That one really sucked. And I don't want to hear about hash marks, or I just have no interest in it. So who knows? I mean, this program has gotten off the mat this year a couple times. This program's gotten off the mat historically, since 2007. So, and James Franklin is kind of a joke. So, no, nothing would shock me. It wouldn't shock me to see Michigan State go in there and win, but probably not. So you probably missed a bowl game because of a missed 22-yard field goal and a blown 17-point lead in suboptimal conditions to a bad team at home on senior day. Yeah. It's I didn't want to talk, to be honest. I didn't want to do this. My phone's charging in the other room. I was about to hold it up. I had multiple text messages from people saying I have to do a Spaces, I have to do a Periscope or whatever. And I can't. I have Chris Castellani coming on the show on Tuesday in studio, and normally I'd be very excited about that, but and it's not because of Chris that I'm not, but I got to sit here and preview undefeated Michigan, just barely undefeated after today. I don't know. I'm going to keep Michigan State off the agenda because I don't know if I can handle it. We'll do a full hour on OSU in Michigan, and I'm going to pretend that this season didn't happen and just remember some of the friends I made along the way. So we'll be fine. Big picture, this was kind of a lost year anyway, but a missed opportunity to salvage something here. And, if you had ripped off 5 straight wins to end the year, or, 4 out of 5 or whatever it may be, real steam going into the offseason, relative to where this team was. And that's gone. So I see, I see Garrett's comment here. I'm going to put that up there. Yeah. Lord knows we will have to wait until Thursday at 4:15 for Rico and Valenti. I understand. I defer to the Lions being king, and I respect that. The whole wait 3 or 4 days thing, you have a 4-hour show. I even if you do 3 hours on the Lions on that Monday and the 4th hour on college, I don't get this wait till Wednesday, wait till Thursday shit. You can have 75% of your show, 80%. You can do 315. Give me 45 minutes. It's really only 20 real minutes of a real college football topic. I don't get it. I understand not going heavy on college. I get it. I mean, they're business people. They're in the business to make money and have ratings, and that's all fine. Do you need 3 days on the Lions? I don't care what happens with the Lions. Why are we waiting till Thursday? I don't get it. People get mad when I bring it up sometimes. It's I like Valenti. I don't know. Am I bad for wanting to hear him talk about what I give a shit about? Shit. It's by the time Valenti reacts, the entire steam and energy, whatever the topic is gone. Thursday. By Thursday, I'm going to be talking us in the rolling Penn State, 2 days later, as opposed to the helplessness and hopelessness I feel now. But, shit. I got to talk about Michigan for an hour. I got to prep an entire Michigan show in the next couple of days, which normally I'm happy to do. I mean, if Michigan State had won today, it's look, I can put on my little ribbon and feel better. But, yeah. At least it'll be nice to see my friend Chris, I guess. So, Yeah. Late game situations have been brutal this year. Yep. Yep. And there were a couple last year too. And it's not just end of game, it's end of half. I mean, multiple end of half weird decisions. I'm pretty sure it was Rutgers last year. It was just the total tomfoolery at the end. And I you better get that stuff right when this team is actually good, because we're mad now. I mean, if you're gonna be doing weird stuff when the stakes are high, like you're playing for a bid to go to Indy, or you're playing in Indy, or you're playing for the college football playoff or whatever. So far, we've escaped every one of these weird situations except till until today. And even today, it's like, yeah, we missed a bowl game, probably missed a chance to clinch a bowl game. Uh, Not huge stakes though. I mean, not huge stakes. So you better fix it before this team gets better. I mean, assuming that this program at some point is going to ascend beyond a 5-6 win team, which I'm sure they will. I think next year they'll be a lot better. But I just played with fire, got burned. What do the kids say? You fucked around and found out. That's what the kids say. No, just Chris Castellani on Tuesday. I have to talk a little Tigers with him. It's gonna be an Ohio State show. We'll probably go a little over an hour just because he's driving so far and Chris is so good. So we'll probably do like 15, 20 minutes on the Tigers, but it'll be heavy, heavy OSU. Michigan looked so bad today from what I saw. Again, take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, because I was in and out. Like I said, I was probably watching every fourth or fifth play only in the second half. Didn't even watch the first half. So take that with a grain of salt. But whenever I looked over, McCarthy was missing a guy wide open. Like that's what I saw. So I don't know. I have watched more of Michigan this year than I did today. I gotta like Ohio State, right? I mean, in that game, like if you're just a neutral betting guy, if your life dependent on it, we'll see. I'm gonna talk to Chris on Tuesday, but go green. No, maybe beat James Franklin. Lesser men have beaten James Franklin when they weren't supposed to. See ya.